Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dual Screens podcast. I am one of your hosts, Stephen Fontana, and with me, as always, he's in that other box. He's Andy Asimakis. How are you, Andy?
You know, I'm very excited about today's episodes, too.
This is, I honestly, I can't really comprehend what we're about to do. Um,
Uh, do we have to abandon our indie cheerleader status after this? Because I feel like we're crossing a threshold here,
right.
and it's kind of a big deal.
What's crazy is that really what it was all right. So if in case you guys haven't been listening, a couple of episodes ago we had Greg Miller on the show. That actually got us in front of pretty big eyes, like pretty much very, very important eyeballs. Just put it that way, very important eyeballs. And so we started to kind of reach a little bit higher. We still wanted to keep it indie. So we tried to go after like the bigger indie scene, and we were able to get a very short interview. It's about half an hour, but it was well worth it. It is a surprise for everybody. It's something we've been working on for a very long time. Um, and tried to get it. Now, like we for years we've been joking about how we like one of our goals is to get Reggie on the show. It's not Reggie. Everybody relax. It's not Reggie. Um, but we were able to get two of probably the most influential voices right now, currently in video games. Would you say that?
Yeah, I would say that when these people speak, the whole industry listens.
Right. And we were able to get them both on a call at the exact same time. So this is the first time that this has really ever happened, and it's happening on Dual Screens podcast. So this is pretty freaking big. I apologize for the audio quality. It was hard for us to do it 'cause we had to do it on their schedule. So we had to use phones, and there's some background noise. We weren't in our podcast setting, and neither it did. It sounded like neither were they. So, but you'll know what I mean once you hear it. So we're gonna transition to that recorded interview real quick, and then we'll come back for the end of the show. Um, so yeah, stay tuned and listen to this incredible interview. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, it's Steve, it's him, it's Andy, and this is the interview of all interviews. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Mr. Phil Spencer and Mr. Andy. Would you like to introduce?
Yes, and Mr. Jim Ryan.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Xbox and PlayStation together here on Dual Screens Podcast. Gentlemen, how are you? Awesome. We are so excited to have you on the show. We're just gonna get right into it, Andy. Do you want to do a ceremonial lead-off question of the show?
Yeah, I mean, this is it's uncharted territory at this point, but you know, so many questions come to mind.
Mm,
What's it like being in the same room together? I mean, in the same podcast together. And
yeah.
we'll go to Jim first. Jim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, and Phil, you've kind of been, PlayStation was kind of at the head of the whole indie thing after you guys started it over at Xbox. Phil kind of took it over, and then they became the indie darlings, or excuse me, PlayStation became the indie darlings there for the PlayStation 4 generation, and now here we are on PS5, and it seems like indies are really what's carrying both of your generations. It is well documented that both Xbox and PlayStation have no games this generation, so you owe a lot to the indie studios. Is that correct? Wow, wow, Andy, this is incredible. Is it not?
I feel like this is such a level of insight never before found on this podcast.
Mm-mm.
These are titans that we're
Yeah,
speaking to now,
and it
Stephen.
and it sounds like it. I can tell you that much. Gentlemen, I want to ask you a question real quick, and if I'm stepping out of line, I understand. You don't have to answer it, but why, with video games being the highest grossing entertainment medium in the entire world, and it's not even close, why do you feel it is important to create subscription services to give away everything for basically nothing? Well, you're both doing it now, so mm. It sounds like to me that you actually hate video games, and you just don't you just want to kind of shove them down our throats by giving us just a copious amount of free content. Would that be accurate to say? Mm, mm.
You
Andy, I
know,
don't know.
I kind of got to take a stab at Jim because Jim, you're a great man, but you're not as you lack the charisma of Phil. Phil is a great. You got great stage
Stage
presence.
presence, yeah. Hmm.
He gets around a lot. He goes to other podcasts. Now this one included. So, Jim, what are your thoughts on just not being like you're the face, but you're not the face of PlayStation? How would you respond to that?
Mm, mm.
Right. I mean, I kind of agree with that, but it's just the charm factor isn't there. I mean, you look like an old pumpkin when I see
Hmm.
you, and it's very, it's. I'm not saying it's a bit of a turnoff, but just
Right.
sometimes when you
It's a
speak
punchable
about
face, is what we're
it
trying to
is
say.
it,
Yeah.
it really is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a punchable face. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, all right. There's a hardball question here. Um. Phil, this one's for you. Um. Why did you feel it was necessary to have 1/3 of a Halo game come out at launch? Expound. Wow, that actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
I never thought of it from that perspective
yeah.
before, but that actually does ring true.
Jim, do you have any plans to release, I don't know, perhaps 1/3 of a God of War game, or maybe an Uncharted or something like that? Something to show us that you're actually doing something with the multitude of studios that you own, especially after just massive hype of just how big and how many talented different developers, directors, and all that stuff. Okay, would you also be coming out with 1/3, maybe even 2/3 of a video game? Wow. Confirmed. You heard it here first, folks. Incredible news. Well, gentlemen, we don't want to keep you much longer. So, Andy, why don't you hit him up with the final question here, and then we'll segue to our closing of the show.
Oh boy, final question. I guess I'm gonna ask Phil. Phil, you've given me a fridge. Can I get more accessories in the kitchen? More, a possible Xbox oven, a microwave, a toaster. I want all the appliances. Is that in the roadmap? You've released no games so far this year of note. Um, are you focused on that? Is that why?
Do you make video games anymore? Does Xbox
Yes.
actually make video games? No, Jim.
Correct.
Jim, you've had your turn.
Yeah.
Do they make video games over there? Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for giving us your time. We do appreciate it. We will. This was unprecedented. We got nearly 5 straight minutes, 10 straight minutes actually, of the two of you, and it was an absolute pleasure. If there's any advice that we can give you, from our perspective, it's make video games, because right now you clearly don't know how, and you're just not making them, and you're relying too heavily on all the third parties, the Call of Duties, and all of that stuff. So just get to work, man. Just get to work. And let's cut it back to past us for when we recorded our intros and outros. Transition. Thank you very much for listening, folks. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing. You can follow us on social media. We're at Duel_screens. I am at Batchild27. Andy is at PantsGuy. And of course, you can join our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/DS Podcasts. We had a great time with this April Fool's episode. We appreciate you for joining us. And we look forward to doing something a little different next year. Andy, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for your amazing big brain that at the last minute was like, I have an idea. Let's do something really stupid for April Fools.
Indeed. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Jim Ryan. And thank you, Phil Spencer.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Phil.
As always, please be excellent to each other.